Welcome back to Organizational Development and Change, Block 2, Organizational Development, Unit 6, OD Interventions. We will be covering the introduction, OD interventions, nature and rationale, survey feedback, process consultation, confrontation meetings, organizational mirroring, team building, T group training, and at last the role analysis. All the activities like collection of data, initiating action, and providing feedback are very well planned and carried out jointly between the change agent and the client organization. And in OD language, they are called the interventions. Interventions, therefore, are the actions thrust of the OD and collectively comprise the OD strategy in a program of organizational renewal. A strategy is just a or basically which aims at developing organizational climate, ways of work, and relationship that will be congruent with the future needs. OD interventions are set of structured activities which is well planned in which selected organizational units, that is individuals, groups engage with a task or a sequence of tasks where the task goals are related directly or indirectly to the organizational improvement. Interventions make things happen and are what's happening. So, these interventions are defined as a behavior which affects the ongoing social processes of a system. OD interventions, that is nature and rational, a few approaches which have helped in understanding the nature and rationale of interventions are as described as under. You can see here OD interventions like cultural interventions, theory interventions, discrepancy interventions, dilemma intervention, procedural interventions, experimentation interventions, relationship interventions are definitely tested for knowing their consequences in a small area. The decisions may be modified or upgraded or retained after reviewing the results or the outcomes. Dilemma interventions. In dilemma interventions, an imposed or emergent dilemma is used to enable close examination of the possible alternatives involved and the assumptions underlying them. Perspective interventions mainly aimed at drawing attention away from immediate actions and demands, and definitely it will allow a look at the historical background, context, and future objectives in order to assess whether or not the actions are still functional. Organizational structure these interventions by examination and evaluation. Structural causes for organizational ineffectiveness are identified and suitable interventions made under such interventions. Cultural interventions help in examining the traditions, precedents, and practices existing in the organization's culture, and appropriate efforts are made to bring desired changes. Blake and Mountain further developed a typology called consult cube, that is 100 cell cube depicting all consultation situations. There are three dimensions of this cube, which is first one, what the consultant does. First dimension is what the consultant does. The type of interventions used here are, some of the interventions are like interventions used to give client a sense of worth, value, acceptance and support, that is acceptant. When we are talking the next one, interventions for helping the client generate data and information in order to restructure the client's perception, that is the catalytic. Then comes interventions for pointing out the value, attitudinal discrepancies in the client's belief and actions, which is called as the confrontation. Then comes the intervention telling the client what to do to solve the problem, that is prescriptive. Then interventions used for teaching the client relevant behavioral science theory so that the client can learn to diagnose and solve his or her own problems. The focal issues causing clients problems. First one, power, authority, moral cohesion, norms or standards of conduct, goals and objective. Second one, a target of change which include the individual, group, intergroup and organizational and larger social systems. Another simple approach to classification is based on the focus on, first is individual group and second one is task process. When we are talking about individual group, the interventions are aimed at individual learning, insight and skill building. When we are talking about the task process, the intervention focus on the task, that is what is being done, or the process, how it is accomplished, how people relate to each other and what processes and dynamics are occurring. Another way of classification is HR based interventions. The techno-structural interventions and socio-technical interventions. So in the table given below, all the interventions except those in italics are the HR based interventions, which we can see like here we can see the HR based interventions like role analysis, which consists of where you can target the individual diets or triads. Then it's T group, which is also known as sensitivity training. Again, it aims for individual and diet and triads. Then comes education and training and development, which is again focusing on individual, the diets and triads, team groups and intergroups. Then comes job enrichment, which focuses on individual and the team groups. Then the grid OD, that is individual, diets and triads, the intergroup and the total organization. And at last the TA, that is the transactional analysis, which focuses on individuals and diets and triads. Here again some HR based intervention continues. First one with the next after since the TA analysis, this is process consultation, which again focuses on individual, triads, team groups, intergroups, and the organization. Then when we are talking about HR intervention of third party peacemaking, it focuses on the dyads and triads. Then comes team building or task or processes focused, which again leads to be focusing on the team groups and intergroup. Next is survey feedback. It is mainly concerned in the team groups and intergroups. Then socio-technical system, it consists of or it focuses on the team groups. Then comes techno-structural activities. It is totally on total organization. Then comes confrontation meetings. It is especially aimed at team groups, intergroups, and total organization. Organizational mirror focuses on intergroup and total organization. Then strategic planning will be focusing on total organization. And life planning and career planning is a focus on the individuals. So OD is essentially definitely a behavioral science based approach. Therefore, human process interventions are the core of OD interventions. Some of these interventions are quite unique, but many have some overlap with others. It is definitely a very difficult task to describe the interventions because variations are common. Here we have discussed the commonly used HR process interventions. The interventions discussed here are, first one is survey feedback, process consultation, confrontation meeting, organizational mirroring, team building, T group training, and role analysis. Survey feedback. This survey feedback is the most widely used OD interventions involving data collections, that is through mainly questionnaire, analysis, and feedback of findings to the organizational members. Though this survey feedback, through this survey feedback, it is essential to find out how, like using a questionnaire, especially when we are using survey feedback. Through the survey feedback, the managers and the employees are provided with the analysis of data collected from them for better diagnosis, prioritizing of issues, and planning of further activities. The steps are described below with an example feeling the need of the survey. A feedback survey is conducted after some significant persons feel the need of identifying and understanding the problem. Next one is deciding the objectives. What is the purpose of the survey? Why the survey is being conducted? And scope of the survey before conducting the survey, because it is essential to decide and clarify the objective of the survey. The consultant client and his representatives meet together and discuss different aspects. So in this study, the main objective of the survey was defined as to find out the perception of the executives on various dimensions of the organizational norms with the aim of identifying areas for the improvement of the organizational environment. Now comes selection of the instrument. Instrument, that means a questionnaire. Normally, data is collected through questionnaires, that is instrument which are designed specifically. Since design and testing of a questionnaire is a complex task needing high expertise, redesigned questionnaires are commonly used. Considering the likelihood of the debate on the validity of questionnaire, it was described or decided to go on a standard questionnaire. That means which should be aligned with the organizational norm opinion developed by Mark Alexander. Organizational norms develop gradually and informally as the employees learn what behaviors are necessary for the group to function more effectively and efficiently. Methodology of data collection. A variety of methods are used for data collection, like through interviews, through an email, semi-structured questionnaires, workshops, secondary sources, etc. Usually, when the questionnaires are used, if the population is large, then statistical sampling methods are used to determine the sample size. Then the questionnaires are collected back from who has responded. Then, fifth point covers scoring and summary of the findings. Once the questionnaires are collected, some questionnaires are direct and some are concealed actually. In the later type, it is difficult to understand the dimensions of the data collections. Hence, scoring key with instruction is used. It also gives some kind of framework for the interpretation. So after the scoring data was analyzed by the internal consultant to find out the status and pattern, next comes the presentation of the feedback. A meeting of the representatives from various departments along with the senior or top level executives was convened in the conference hall where they want to discuss about the feedback system. The consultant gave a brief presentation on OD and organizational environment. They also talked about some of the challenges the company was facing and the need for improvement. Definitely, they were concerned more on how to give and receive effective feedback to prepare a climate of positive listening and exploration. This helped in creating a non defensive, that is, when you're talking about non defensive, it is kind of supportive climate before the presentation of the findings. Then comes action planning. Four cross-functional teams may be constituted for preparing the recommendation and action plan to be presented in another workshop. Maybe you can give a time frame of 4 weeks later. One of the suggestions was to prepare a handbook giving helpful and restraining practices for each of the norms. The survey feedback workshop served as an effective interventions because the awareness of the status and implication raised a lot of interest and desire for the improvement. Some improvement would have been initiated in some corners only by the effect of listening the findings of the survey. Next, we have to follow up. A core group of 3 senior level managers from different departments was constituted because they need to follow up to sum up designing instrument or when you say about a questionnaire for survey feedback, it is most important task and should be carried out only by the trained persons. The methodology of data collection and sampling plans also need to be decided professionally. The sample should be statistically valid. Standard questionnaires should be used if adequate expertise for questionnaire design is not there. The findings should be developed only after in-depth analysis of the collected data. The presentations should be designed and organized in an effective manner. So, a survey feedback session definitely motivates the listeners to come together and work for problem solving and improvement. Next come process consultation. According to CN, process consultation is a set of activities on the part of the consultant, which actually helps the client to perceive, understand, and act upon the process events occurring in the client's environment. So, an expert help, that is, solutions to problems, is not directly provided to the client. Rather, on the basis of observations of functioning of the groups, they are helped to diagnose the nature, dimension, and extent of the problems involved their evolve their own solutions. Process consultants do not give solutions, actually, like content, subject matter, techniques, etc. Rather, themselves put an emphasis on and facilitate behavioral processes to enable the client come out with their own solutions. Characteristics of process consultancy. First one is facilitation of communication, that is a free and frank exchange of information and expression of feelings, apprehensions, that is fear by the client and his personal, etc. Next characteristics is enhancing problem solving abilities of the client so that they are able to solve their problems easily. Next characteristics is developing a process based relationship with the personnel involved. Next one is develop open as well as authentic relationships with client and their people. So this process consultation is very useful, especially when the client experiences the effect, that means some kind of symptoms, but is not aware of the problems. He does not, next one is that he does not know what specific help is required. Third one is that he understands that problems are attitudinal and behavioral, but is not able to intervene. And next one, the fourth one, the client is motivated to learn and develop problem solving abilities in his or her people. So, according to SIN, a variety of interventions may be used in process consulting, like interventions aimed at making the group sensitive to its processes and enhance their interest in analyzing the problems. Next is it aims at the problem identification and analysis, that is diagnosis. Next one, is interventions aimed at giving some kind of feedback. Next one, interventions aimed at helping people, groups of observe and the process their own data, that is learning, giving and receiving feedback and the solve and the problems. Coaching as well as counseling also are frequently used. So interventions mainly aim at structural measures like job allocation, role changes, etc. So this process consultancy is very useful, especially when the client experiences the effect, that is the symptoms, but is not aware of the problems. Here actually the client experiences the effect, that means they are able to experience the effect, that is they are able to identify the symptoms but is actually not aware of the problems. Second one, he does not know what the specific help is required. Some kind of problem does exist but he does not know how or what specific help is actually needed to or required to solve this problem. Next come, he understands that problems are attitudinal and behavioral but is not able to intervene. That means when we are talking about attitudinal and behavioral, he understands the problems. Many problems are attitudinal and behavioral but is not able to intervene. And at last, the client is motivated to learn and develop problem solving abilities in himself or his people down the line. So, a confrontation. So, originally, which is developed by Beckard, this OD intervention is used for identifying and prioritizing problems in organizations and beginning the working on solutions of the problem by involving many people or many employees in the organization. The typically used steps have been indicated as below, like convening a meeting of representatives of all departments in the organization. As they have to work together, many people are working together. So the first step is starting a meeting of representatives of all departments in the organization. Next one is assuring and motivating the participants to be open, free and frank in communication, and giving a brief presentation on the need and importance of problem identification and working for the solution in groups. So first one is we have to start a meeting of the representative of all departments in the organization. Second is assuring and motivating the participants to be quite open. They should be free and frank in communication and giving a brief presentation on the need and importance of problem identification and working for solution in, because they should be coming together and working. When the problem is identified, they all should be working in a group to identify the solutions. Next comes when you're talking about dividing the participants into groups, that is according to the classification nature of the problems, and assigning them time to bring an approach for solutions with the action plan. So convening the group and making presentation by each group, incorporating modification wherever is required. Next one is getting the approaches and solution examined by the top management and getting the directions or their decisions on the future course of action. So making a follow up and then again implementation of the plan and formal communication in this regard has to be communicated. Next is preparing follow up plan. That is, this intervention is very simple and needs a good internal or external facilitator. Next is organizational mirroring. So in this, when we are talking about organizational mirroring, this is an interventions which is used by a section, that is a department or function of an organization, to collect the perception or what they are thinking about of the other relevant sections. That means a group of people in a one department or a function, their perceptions needs to be collected of what they are thinking about the others or other relevant section of the organization, with the aim of improving its performance, image and relationships with other sections. Example, when we are taking finance as a department, then the people from the finance section should have to express their perception of the other relevant sections, may be related to marketing, operation, IT, HR. So that it can bring in, or it mainly aim for improving the overall performance, image and relationship with the other sections or other departments. So usually, in the beginning of these kinds of workshop, the units are explained that the corporate personnel wanted to bring in improvement in their performance and satisfaction of the internal customers. So they assured that all the perceptions and impressions will be taken in a real positive way and requested to give free and frank opinion. Here, the participants are encouraged so that these correct impressions will be, or the perfect impressions will be collected and will be taken in a real positive way. And they are requested to give free and frank opinion. The consultant here divided the representative in 7 groups. Maybe this is just an example. They can be divided into groups and ask them to discuss and bring about their perception about the functioning of corporate personnel, that is covering both the positive as well as negative aspects. He also emphasized that perception should be data based, objective, and should be prepared keeping in view the requisites of effective feedback. The host groups were also asked to bring out their perceptions on their own performance. After usually few minutes, all groups can be called to tell them their perceptions. The host group will be telling the other groups to tell about the perception about their group members. So discussion points can be noted down on a whiteboard or just in pen and paper. Then by turn, each group should share their perception. That is, in case of confusion or any kind of confusion, the host group should seek the clarification. The members should also interact with each other in a controlled manner. The members of different groups or different departments, different maybe the coming together in one roof should be able to discuss, interact with each other in the controlled manner. Then, after completion of sharing by every group to the other group, the host will summarize and then divide the main themes of perceptions in 3 aspects. That is, a positive perception, that is when there is a positive perception, there will be appreciations. Then it is negative perception, then main expectations, that is from corporate to perceptions. That means the expectations what the corporate personnel is feeling about the individuals or the teams or the departments. So, organizational mirroring intervention is quite effective in improving the performance and optimizing the interdepartmental and interfunctional relationship. So, the facilitator here is the consultant, who intervenes for creating a conducive, non-threatening climate, eliciting desired information, making process observations to make group process more elective and crystallizing the issues. Next comes team building. Team building is the most commonly used OD interventions. It takes different forms and emphasizes different aspects depending on the need and expertise of the consultant and the trainer. A team is widely understood as a group of people working together to accomplish common goal. We know that when we are talking about a team, it is definitely few peoples or few employees coming together, working together, and there will be a common goal, objective, mission, and vision, so that this team can effectively achieve together while working together. So therefore, there are two important aspects in the working of any team. First is your task aspect, and second like the people or relationship aspect. So when we are talking about the task aspect, that is what is to be achieved or carrying out, and the related aspect when we are only concerned about the task. But when we are concerned about the people, it is how do the members feel while interacting and working with each other, or how do they communicate with each other, how do they respond to each other, who is trying to dominate any kind of leadership issues. These are to be commonly studied in case of people or relationship aspects. So, any team exists in environment has interaction with several other teams within the outside the organization. Thus, the teams may have different issues, processes within the organization, and focus may also be different, like intra-team task, that is intra-team task focus, which is content. Intra-team people, that is process focus. Then the inter-team task within the organization, inter-team task. Then inter-team people focus within the organization. So this team building is the most commonly organizational development or the OD interventions. It takes different forms and emphasizes different aspects depending on the need and expertise of the consultant as well as the trainer. So, a team is widely understood as a group of people. We know that they are coming together to achieve a common goal, and there will be task aspect and the people aspect. And this is the team building when we have programs under the OD efforts. They are carried out using interventions for release of pent up emotions, confrontations, involving examination of one's own and others' assumptions, resolution of conflicts, problem solving, and concept based approaches, and strength for bringing the synergy. These team building programs help when because many people will be coming together so that they are to encouraged to open up with their any kind of problems, any kind of confrontation, any kind of dispute, any kind of grievances, any kind of perceptions need to be openly discussed, because sometimes these are not communicated properly to the appropriate authority, and this will result or will be the organization will be landing up in a problem. Therefore, these programs under these the OD efforts are carried out using intervention for release of pent up emotions. Any kind of emotions which is there within the individuals should come out. Any kind of confusions, any kind of clarifications, and strengthening perceptions. We need to strengthen the perceptions. Confrontation involving examination of one's own and others' assumptions, resolutions of the conflicts, problem solving, and the concept based approach and strength for building synergy. Thus, team building issues have a wider implication, and all aspects should be explored while deciding any kind of interventions. The use of process based, that is structured experiences, along with appropriate instruments in the team building programs help in overcoming the constraints to a greater extent. So, prior diagnostic exercises indicating the strong or any kind of weak dimensions of the team working are of great help in designing short duration team building and or team building workshop. Any kind of structured experiences are also able to stimulate the real life situations, raise the feelings, and provide maybe suitable opportunities for marking appropriate interventions at the defreezing, learning, and refreezing stages, because these stages will be helping us to have the solutions to any kind of problems. Such experiences create less hostility, give desired space of movement to the group, create a situation where all participants are involved, and facilitate giving and receiving feedback effectively. Because such experiences with less hostility give desired pace of movement to the group, create a situation where all participants have to be involved and facilitating giving and receiving feedback effectively. Because when they are all together, they are able to see that they are able to create an environment where there is less hostility, and they give desired pace of movement to the group, create a situation where all the participants involved and facilitate giving and receiving feedback effectively. Because when there is a good feedback system, then the concerned person will take it in a positive sense and will be tried to improve upon more on these strategies. Next is T group training, that is training group, which is a small, very much unstructured group in which the participants learn from their own interactions and evolving dynamics about the issues pertaining to interpersonal relations, group dynamics, and leadership. So, this T group covers, it is usually unstructured, it is not well planned or structured kind of thing. Rather, it is unstructured and especially the participants of T group, they learn from their own interactions involving dynamics about issues pertaining to interpersonal relationship, the group dynamics, and the leadership. So this is also primarily known as sensitivity training and is a trial or is a training approach based on experiential learning. So this is also T group training is also known as sensitivity training and is a training approach based on experiential learning. T group normally adopts two paths. That means they have two directions. First one, to gain a deeper understanding about the self and personal growth, that is interpersonal focus. When you are focusing or when the concerned person is focusing on the inner or the give a deeper understanding also, because interpersonal focus is there, and therefore this is again gain deeper understanding about self. That means you are able to understand yourself and the personal growth of yours. Next is to explore group dynamics and a relationship between members. That means this will lead to team building interventions, that is interpersonal as well as organizational focus. Now, the objectives of T group training. First objective is to enhance understanding about self, gain insight into one's own behavior and its impact on others, that is including the ways in which they are interpreted by others. That means in the first objective, uh, it helps to understand about the individual as themselves, that is self understanding, and definitely gain insight into one's own behavior. That means you will be then scrutinizing, the concerned person will be scrutinizing his or own behavior. And it's important to be like, when you are enhancing the understanding and awareness about the other's behavior, the thoughts, feeling, and action. So the second objective concentrated mainly on understanding and awareness of others behavior, that is towards the empathy. That means their thoughts, their feelings, and actions. Next one comes how you need to enhance the understanding and awareness of the group and intergroup processes. Processes that actually facilitate the in, inhibit group effectiveness. See, the first one, the first objective was to consider or to understand the individual himself or herself, that is their own behavior, their own like insights about their own things, including the ways in which they are interpreted by others. That means what others are thinking about them. The second one, enhance the understanding and awareness about others behavior. That means now it is the understanding and awareness about the others, mean the people in the team or people in the organizations who are there working with the individual. So we need to know their understanding and awareness and their thoughts, feeling, and actions to be addressed. Next one is to understand or the enhance and awareness of group and intergroup processes. So the processes that facilitate and inhibit the group effectiveness. Next one, we need to identify, and again, the first one is to identify and develop. That means a greater awareness of behavioral approach association with the one's life. So increasing this diagnostic skills in interpersonal and intergroup situations. Increase ability to transform the learning into action, etc. So the first objective is to understand the self and one's own behavior and its impact on others. Understanding the self and how you are having an impact on others, that is how you are including the ways in which they are actually interpreted by others. The second objective is to enhance the understanding and awareness about others' behavior. That means their thoughts, their feelings, and actions. The next one is to enhance the understanding and awareness of group and intergroup processes. That means the processes are actually which facilitate and inhibit group effectiveness. The next one is to identify as well as develop greater awareness of behavioral processes associated with one's life. And then it is increasing diagnostic skills in interpersonal and intergroup situation. That means it will be helping in increasing the diagnostic skills. That means what has happened in the interpersonal and the intergroup situation, it will be knowing that why these things are happening. And at last, the last objective of T group training is increase ability to transform the learning into action. This is the most important part. Whenever some kind of learning is being taken, it has to be seen that it is being transferred into actions, because until and unless one is not able to practice these kind of things, then it won't be an easy task. So the increased ability to transform the learning into action is the next objective of your T group training. Then there are also some benefits of T group training, like the benefits of T group training may be enumerated at first the individual, group and organizational level. There are actually three parts where first we will be dealing with the individual, group and the organizational level. When we are talking about the individual levels, that is the individual benefits, with the venting out of feelings bottled since long, the person becomes more spontaneous because the persons are given an opportunity to express their feelings. So definitely the person becomes more spontaneous and tension free and is able to perceive things in more unbiased manner. So the stress level decreases and thus the physical as well as the mental health increases. So an individual becomes more sensitive to himself or herself and therefore is able to own up his feeling. This causes decrease in defensive behavior and clarity in perception. So the first level, when we are talking about the individual benefits, the individual is given a chance to let out his expression. Whenever the person is letting out the expression, the person becomes more tension free and is able to perceive things more in an unbiased manner. So definitely this will result as the stress level of the concerned individual will decrease and thus the physical as well as the mental health will increase. So an individual becomes more sensitive to himself and is able to own up his own feelings. So this definitely will cause a decrease in his defensive behavior and he will have a more clarity in his perception. Then we have the group level, that is interpersonal. When there is increase in the insight to understand others, that means when one is able to understand others, the enhanced self-esteem, that is communication with other persons, become more supportive, resulting in productive relationship. Since the self disclosure increases, one is able to get more feedback, which keeps on increasing the arena. That means open is resulting in creation of a trusting and open relationship with others. The aggression and defensiveness decreases, which help in developing better relationship and increased influence. And people want to work together and thus the teamwork improve. So here in T group training, the benefits under the group level, we can see that one is able to understand other, and this will definitely enhance or increase the self esteem. The communication, the way they are communicating with other persons, becomes supportive, resulting in a positive relationship. So here the self disclosure will definitely increase, and one is able to get more feedback, which keeps on increasing the arena that is open, resulting in creation of a trusting and open relationship with others. The aggression and defensiveness definitely will decrease for that individual, and it will help in developing some better relationship and increased influence. At organizational level, T group training increases the openness, trust, realization, and interdependence, which help in creation of a conducive climate, that is a friendly climate where everybody strives for realizing his potential. Hostility will definitely reduce and new and better ideas become available. The change interventions are better appreciated, and if a large number of persons have undergone this kind of training, the capability to cope with future challenges will definitely increase. Due to this increase in the influencing ability, empathy, and assertiveness, the leadership styles become more effective. And at last, when we are talking about the role analysis is a technique used for clarifying and prioritizing the expectations of significant role centers from a role occupier or a role holder. A role is the pattern of behavior expected by others from a person who is actually occupying a certain position in an organizational hierarchy. A role holder is a person occupying a role where the role sender are those persons who have significant expectations from the role occupier. So the role analysis, where we have constitution of a core task force, selection of position persons for role analysis, constitution of specific task forces, identification of role senders, collection of role expectations, defining key performance areas, that is the role definition, identification of competencies required for carrying out role effectively, identifying the gaps between capabilities possessed and required, and at last, plans and activities for development. Thank you very much. So meet you in the next class.